Hi, Tony Retrovato here, and we're going to call what I'm doing here retro grammar. I'll explain to you why. It's a little play on my name and also on what this is all about. Taught, as I said last time, for over 30 years, and after 28 years I took what's called a sabbatical. You can do that every 7 years. You take a year off from teaching just to study, travel, become more well-rounded as a teacher. And the school district pays part of it, sometimes all of it. At any rate, my first sabbatical, I took it after 28 years of teaching, and I studied everything I could get my hands on about grammar and about what was out there and people who were doing new things. And I didn't see anything close to the things that I was doing. Not close. Everybody has the same problem. They can't get away from the traditional teachings. They try to break away and they can't. And I have, to a greater extent than anybody else. But there's one thing that I want to call your attention to, all of you people, especially professors who think that their subject is sacrosanct and wonderful and has to be taught. And again, I agree with you. It's just the way you're teaching it that's a problem. One of the things I learned in my studies was that in surveys that have been taken, these surveys have been taken to study the effects of grammar instruction in the classroom, what effect this had on students. And they tested all different kinds of grammars that were taken, that were administered to students. And they found something very interesting, really knocked me down. The students who had experience in linguistics or experience in transformational grammar or experience in traditional or in the other, in the grammar through writing process, had absolutely no advantage over students who had no grammar instruction whatsoever. They knew nothing more about communication skills and grammar in general than students who had studied all these. No effect. No effect on their writing, no effect on their public speaking, nothing. It was worthless, guys. You wasted a lot of time. Something else. Well, I better not go into that or I'll be here all day. I want to give you a brief synopsis of what these different grammars are all about. Traditional grammar it's traditional. It's been taught for a couple thousand years. Not English, but this system has been taught for an awful long time. And it's based on the premise that if you had 8 big cardboard boxes, 8 boxes, and you took all the words in the English language, put each word on a 3x5 card, took all those cards, thousands and thousands of cards, you could go from box to box and stick each card in an appropriate box. This card goes in the noun box, this card goes in the adjective box. And if the students learn which words go in which boxes, they will have a handle on the English language and English grammar in general. And they can work with these ideas and get really good at composing effective sentences. Well, that doesn't work. But anyway, that's what it's all about. That's the basis for traditional grammar. Transformational grammar, I love this. By the way, there are things in each of these that I find very useful. Really great ideas. But there are problems in each. Transformational grammar is terrific stuff. It says that no matter how complicated a sentence is, it is generated. Oh, by the way, it's also called generative grammar. Each sentence generates from a series of very smaller sentence patterns. And you study how these little patterns are transformed into these big patterns, which is really neat. I like that. The only trouble is they went off the deep end with this stuff. They made it so that you people who had trouble with algebra, you'll hate this, because it's equations. It's like if this word, then that word, and that word has to follow this word. And who's going to memorize all this stuff? Look at these things. Some of these things, I mean, look at this. You can study it, but to expect students to really be able to get interested in that. It doesn't work. And the hard part, the worst part about it is teachers who try to teach this and don't understand it that well themselves, they end up just with a mess. And they end up going back to what they call basics, which is what they knew didn't work in the first place, but they don't know what else to do. Doesn't work. Linguistics, that's really an interesting premise too. This is the idea that language is spoken. The written language is secondhand. So if we want to study language, we go out and record what everybody is saying when they speak. And also you go back in time and see how these different speech patterns have evolved through the years. And then you come out and with a book like this and you say, hey, here's the way they're doing it in Massachusetts. Now this is the way they do it in Texas. This is the way they do it in Alaska. Different ways that people use their language. It's really neat. The problem is, if I was writing a paper and I had made a mistake, I come across a sentence that, geez, I can't figure out what this sentence is. I don't know what's wrong with it. I'm not going to find the answer in there. And that's what I want a grammar book to do. I want a grammar book to be a resource book. When I'm screwing up, I want to be able to look at the grammar book and find my problem and see what the solution is and fix it. This, they don't do it. This one, this is the worst of all, the traditional, because it says it does, but it doesn't. It doesn't even get close, and the kids know that. The last one is teaching grammar through writing. This is the idea that, oh, these books don't work, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the kid's paper, and I'm going to sit down with him and talk to him about the mistakes he's making, just me and him. And then we'll iron this whole thing out. It's ridiculous, because you have to have a base for communication. You can't say to the kid, see this prepositional phrase, you have it in the wrong place. Kid's going to say, what's a preposition? What's a prepositional phrase? What's a phrase? What are you talking about? What do you say? You have to have a base for communication. And that's what's wrong with all these. Retro grammar. Next time we meet, we're going to start. And you're going to love this stuff. Take care.